Hello, good afternoon and welcome to today's edition of the Afternoon Edition. My name is Isa Nu, and today we shall be discussing the issues pertaining to town planning and how effective are they in the country. For some days now, we've been receiving so many reports on how planners are actually planning in the development of our cities. And for many Nigerians who understand the Land Use Act will definitely understand the role town planners play in making sure that our cities are well fashioned. In fashioning this city comes with rules and regulations. For many who have actually started building in places where it is not expected to be built, definitely will be demolished. For those of us who are here in the capital city of Abuja, we are all used to this particular term, demolition. And for the town planners, they see it as another way of actually putting the city right. Just recently, on 27th of last month to be precise, as at this particular point in time, the town planners across Nigeria were gathered to discuss the way forward. And on that same day, they talked on the collaborative means that they can use to ensure that, yes, town planners actually carry out their activities successfully and also ensure that the cities where we live are safe for every one of us. Imagine going to a city that doesn't have a map, and imagine going to a city that doesn't have a very good water system, or a city without healthcare well positioned. Before any city develop, definitely there must be someone who is behind the scene planning about its development. And that's the work of town planners, making sure that there is access road, there is place for water, there is place for health facilities, there is place for offices, and there are places for residential buildings. So these are the critical role the town planners play in our city. For many of us, we also see them as urban planners. But then, during the 27th of last month, one of the most critical questions that was raised during the presentation of a professor, Professor Ahmed from Ahmadu Bello University, who happened to be the incoming university vice chancellor, he raised a critical question: that is it all about urban planning or rural development? These are the critical issues I will be discussing today on the afternoon edition, and we'll be talking more with a town planner in person of Mr. Sunday Ogbada. I hope I got that right. Good afternoon and welcome to the afternoon edition.
Good afternoon.
I hope I got your name right this time.
You got the name right.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sunday Ogbada, and welcome to the afternoon edition.
Thank you.
So, as we discuss more on this particular topic, I would like you to take a listen to the previous program that was held. Just started also the women angle of the town planners. Actually, there's a Association of Women Town Planners, the FCT, had another program to mark the International Women's Day. And for many of us who have actually been following up with activities of town planners, we raised questions. And on that same International Women's Day, we raised questions that for some time now we've had women leading the town planning in the FCT. When will the men lead? So let's go on this break, and when we return, we start off with a conversation.
The welfare of millions of people for generations to come may be affected by the wisdom which we here display. If Nigerian leaders and our British partners are to prove themselves worthy of their trust, now is the time for us solemnly and truly to dedicate ourselves to seeking the greatest good of the greatest number of our people in Nigeria. Independence for Nigeria in 1960 is imperative. But independence for Nigeria as a corporate entity is not enough. The peoples of Nigeria must at the same time be guaranteed their freedom. We must ensure that in an independent Nigeria, individual citizens throughout the land enjoy liberty, human dignity, and equality under the law. There must be one Nigeria with one constitution and one law for all. Let us therefore, Mr. Chairman, sir, close our ears to the counsel of despair which says that we cannot here at this conference agree on a constitution. If there's any doubt among us as to what should be written into the constitution, let us, as Democrats that we profess ourselves to be, refer such problems, as the Gaulle has done recently, to the people whom we profess to represent, either just before or at the federal elections late in 1959.
Represented by Town Planner Lana Olalekan Ade, a director in the Ministry of Urban and Regional Development, the minister emphasized that the policy will provide a structured approach in addressing urbanization challenges in the country.
We have worked with the UN Habitat to develop a national urban development policy, which we are set to present to the Federal Executive Council for approval. This policy provides a comprehensive framework for urban planning and management in Nigeria, ensuring that our cities and towns are developed in a manner that is sustainable.
The president of the Nigerian Institute of Town Planners, Town Planner Chime Obonna, highlighted key challenges facing town planning in Nigeria and stressed the need for continued collaboration among stakeholders to overcome them.
By fostering collaboration and innovation, we can address the complex challenges facing our urban environments. As our nation continues to face the challenges and we suggest solutions.
Similarly, the chairman of the organizing committee, Town Planner Kabri Yari, raised critical questions concerning town planners' activities and their impacts on national development.
Whoever gets married must move out of his parents' house and go into his own house. And so there's so many young population. And if in fact the population pyramid in Nigeria shows that the youth are the majority, so that's, the demand will keep on coming. And as long as the population is growing. But what is happening is that the rate of production of housing, particularly formal housing, falls short of urban growth.
Since 1992, when a federal government promulgated a law called Nigerian Urban and Regional Planning Law, to date, that law has not been implemented. Was still at the federal level, because I do know that some state governments have domesticated the law and they are doing their best in the course of the implementation. So we are saying that at the point when that law was promulgated, that all existing town planning laws were repealed by that law.
The event themed collaboration for success, fostering a sustainable future for the town planning profession in Nigeria, featured panel discussions and academic presentations. Among the key speakers was the newly elected Vice Chancellor of Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, Professor Ahmed Adamu, who delivered a presentation titled Urban Sustainability Through Localizing the New Urban Development Agenda and Resilience Planning. With these initiatives, the federal government aims to ensure that urban planning remains a critical tool in achieving sustainable development and addressing the nation's housing deficit. Daniel Obi, ASO Television News.
Welcome back from that break, and still with us here in the studio is Mr. Sunday Ogbada. Mr. Sunday, good afternoon once more, and welcome to the afternoon edition.
Thank you very much.
It's nice having you on this day, because on that particular day where you guys had your town planners assembly, so much actually happened. We saw so many Nigerians, so many town planners coming from different parts of the country to that particular assembly. What are your experiences being a town planner, and how important do you think that particular program was all about?
Well, I want to thank you for having me on this program, and I appreciate you for this privilege. The program was the maiden edition of the Planners Assembly. It was a program that brought together town planners from all across the country, and the aim of that program was to look at the planning profession. How effective has planning been? What are the challenges, especially as we are evolving into very complex issues in the 21st century? We are talking about resilience, we are talking about climate change, we are talking about the need to brace up towards having smart cities. So it was an assembly of town planners to look at the profession and look at challenges and also look at ways of collaborating towards effective planning in order to address these issues and have a better planning profession. That was what the program was all about. And as a person, I benefited immensely because it afforded me not just professional knowledge to be abreast with the profession, it also afforded me the privilege to meet with town planners from different places in the country where we rub minds together and we just talked about the profession generally.
Okay, looking at all that happened on that particular day, we saw so many presentations that were made, and one of the key issues that was actually raised by one of the presenter, a professor I think from University of Ibadan, was the issue of collaboration. Have there been any major challenge with respect to the town planning profession and every other related profession in terms of how they do their work in order for them to be successful?
The problems that were identified in terms of collaboration with other professionals, to some reasonable extent, we have been collaborating, especially with other professionals in the built environment. And that is why we are where we are today as a country. The areas we need to improve on were highlighted in the course of the program, especially in terms of sharing knowledge, sharing data, because you cannot plan without data. For instance, land administration has to do with data. It is the data we collect, we harmonize, we process, and we use for planning. So we need to share knowledge on a sustainable basis with other related professionals. It's a collaborative effort. The land professionals, the architects, the engineers, the surveyors, we put heads together as a team, and then we harness all this relevant information and put them together to plan the space, both for the present and the future. So there has been collaboration. All we need to do is to improve on it, especially where there are gaps. So the program availed us to see those gaps and how to bridge them in the process of planning.
Okay, you mentioned the word data, which is very, very key because of the futuristic implication it has. Over time, do you think the Nigerian Institute of Town Planners and, or let me say even the Town Planning Registration Council, do they have enough data about our developmental indices in terms of physical development?
Yes. I'll answer that question, yes. And I wouldn't say no. We have data. Let me try to clarify the differences between the Town Planners Registration Council and the Nigerian Institute of Town Planners. The Town Planners Registration Council, TOPREC, is charged with the responsibility of professionalism, getting the town planners registered with all the professional requirements that mandates them to practice, while the institute is charged with the responsibility of training, the mandatory training that comes up from time to time in order to keep abreast with the planning profession. So this membership of the institute is a prerequisite for you to get registered by the Town Planners Registration Council. In the context of the Planners Assembly that just took place, it was organized by TOPREC in collaboration with all the chapters of NITP, members were drawn from across the country in order for us to brainstorm and look at planning issues generally in order to effectively advance the profession. So data is used for planning. For instance, when master plans are being prepared, we go out to the field, we carry out socioeconomic surveys, we bring those figures together, pictorial, numeric, whatever. There are different classes of data we collect. We put them together and look at how the city or the community is going to evolve over time. Planning is not just for the present, it is also for the future. We look at the population growth. If in 10 years or 20 years a particular setting is going to increase by this rate, what are the things to be put in place? We generate data on traffic to see how the access roads are going to be insufficient or inadequate to cater with the road traffic, and see what should be put in place to expand such roads and all that. So we have some master plans that have been prepared before now. We have other master plans that are evolving. We have physical plans at different levels. These plans are prepared using data, and we gather this data together from the field in order to help the planning profession do the job effectively, so that the future will not be chaotic in the open space.
Now, with the advent of technology, and one of the major technology that is actually affecting so many job industries today, it has to do with artificial intelligence. Even in the security sector, they try as much as possible to deploy some of this technology in order for them to be able to achieve a certain goal. For the town planning profession, as we move forward into a brighter and a more clearer future, do you see technology as one, artificial intelligence to be specific now, as one of the major threats to town planning?
Well, it is not a threat. It is rather something that we town planners are embracing. We are embracing artificial intelligence because the world is evolving. There are changes and dynamics that makes it mandatory for town planners to synergize and brace up with the challenges we are being faced. So artificial intelligence is good, and the town planning regulatory bodies are putting things in place to ensure that we tap from artificial intelligence and make sure that our plans, our postulations, our projections are more effective by using technology. The technology is so complex, and it makes planning profession easier because of how complex and dynamic the cities are emerging. So we will not shy away from artificial intelligence. Rather, we have to. It's a necessity. It's a must. We must embrace it. It's going to be part of the curriculum that we train planners, both for private town planners, those who are working with government bodies. It's also going to form part of our mandatory professional training, so that we are abreast with what is in vogue in order to make planning effective.
Okay, the Planners Assembly during its event that took place last month had so much robust conversation, and there was technical session, but then let me still focus on the presentation made by one of the guests in person of Professor Adam Muhammad, who is a fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Town Planning, where he raised issue about the focus so much on urban planning and not looking at the rural setting. It seems like everybody feels where the cake is in urban planning. But then if you go to other climes, most especially in East Africa, you see the way their villages, their rural setting are developed and linked with the town. But in Nigeria, we ask the question, what are the town planners doing? Because if you go to certain areas, you discover that there's no plan. Everybody is just building where they want to build.
Okay, the comment you just made, no plans.
There seem to be no plan. Because you get into a particular settings.
I'm coming to that. There are plans. It's either the plans are there and they are not using it, or the political will or the funding is not there. And this is where collaboration comes in. We need to begin to create awareness and collaborate both with decision makers, policy makers, people in government, to see the need to embrace plans. You talked about the rural areas. You know, in planning, we plan both for the urban and the rural areas. I want to draw a clue from what is going on in the FCT. The Honorable Minister of the FCT is providing a lot of infrastructural development in these satellite towns. You go to Kuje, you go to Gwagwalada, you see a lot of things opening up. Some of these basic things that are needed, like roads, electricity, water supply, once you provide them, like sites and services scheme, it encourages people to live outside the city center where the population is so high. Land values are so high, rentage is very high. But you see, planning is not just concentrated on the urban areas. To decongest the urban areas, the master plans or the physical plans are done in such a way that there is even spread of population. Or as population grows, there are avenues through which these satellite towns or rural areas will absorb this population explosion. So the plans that are being prepared by planners is both for urban and rural areas. And that is done because we don't want this rural-urban migration to be sustained. We want the rural areas to accommodate a larger portion of this population. So the plans are there. It is just a matter of funding and a bit of collaboration with all the critical decision makers and government people in government to embrace them and implement them.
Okay, you said the plans are there, and I remember when I was interviewing the president of Nigerian Soft Town Planning, person of Mr. Chime A. Ogbonna, it raised the same issue that the funding are not enough. But then, every sector definitely, as a planner, even the budget, Ministry of Budget, for so many people will say, look, even the Ministry of Budget should be a town planning that is heading it because they know how to plan. But as a planner, looking at situations like this, where you know you don't have enough, is it not the restoration of the planning, of the plans that were made that should be adopted? Because there's no fund, does that mean that people should just do what they want to do?
Okay, I want to approach that concern from a different perspective. If funding is a problem, I would rather suggest that we should be exploring other sources of funding. And this is where collaboration still comes in. You know, the Planners Assembly was focused on collaboration. Collaboration,
yes.
And in terms of funding too, we looked at that critically in the course of the program, where we were looking at exploring the private sector and public-private partnerships, exploring donor agencies from international communities that could support the sustainable development goals by funding projects, especially in developing countries, where some of these critical infrastructural needs are not implementable because of lack of funding. So we could explore other avenues to get funds in order for our plans to be effectively implemented. So funding is a problem, but it also has a solution. So it all has to do with collaboration and exploring all these avenues in order to have adequate funding to make our plans implementable.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Ogbada Sunday for giving us this particular aspect of it, which is very, very important, that with collaboration we can actually move the town planning profession forward. And looking at the situation, definitely with the economic issues that we are having, and now we have a budget of over 50 trillion naira. It says so much about what should be the chunk probably for the Ministry of Urban Development, because your profession seems to be one of the profession that has actually been given utmost attention by the president for creating or for bringing back that particular ministry where you guys are fully involved, the issue of urban planning, which is very, very key to national development. So we'll be going on a very short break, and when we return, we'll continue with Mr. Sunday Ogbada, a town planner in this particular aspect that we are discussing today, and also he was part of those who took part of the during the technical session of the Planners Assembly here in the capital city of Abuja. So after the break, he will be joining us more to discuss on this particular issue.
We are a nation blessed with people of diverse cultures, religions, languages, and opinions. It is ironic that we are now being ripped apart by our greatest strength, our diversity. We have allowed intolerance, insensitivity, bigotry, and nepotism to blind our vision of the greatness we can achieve working together as one. We may not have the same culture, nor religion, nor language, but we all belong to the same nation by the divine will of God. We did not choose to be Nigerians. Nigeria chose our unity. Our strength is not in our numbers, but in our unity, because even the weak become strong when...
Owners and operators of ASO Radio 93.5 FM Abuja, ASO Television DSTV Channel 392, Star Times Terrestrial Channel 127, Free TV Channel 507, People's TV Channel 285, and UHF Channel 38.
Represented by Town Planner Lana Olalekon Ade, a director in the Ministry of Urban and Regional Development, the minister emphasized that the policy will provide a structured approach in addressing urbanization challenges in the country.
We have worked with the UN Habitat to develop a national urban development policy, which we are set to present to the Federal Executive Council for approval. This policy provides a comprehensive framework for urban planning and management in Nigeria, ensuring that our cities and towns are developed in a manner that is sustainable.
The president of the Nigerian Institute of Town Planners, Town Planner Chime Obonna, highlighted key challenges facing town planning in Nigeria and stressed the need for continued collaboration among stakeholders to overcome them.
By fostering collaboration and innovation, we can address the complex challenges facing our urban environments. As our nation continues to face the challenges and we suggest solutions.
Similarly, the chairman of the organizing committee, Town Planner Kabri Yari, raised critical questions concerning town planners' activities and their impacts on national development.
Whoever gets married must move out of his parents' house and go into his own house. And so there's so many young population. And if in fact the population pyramid in Nigeria shows that the youth are the majority, so that's the demand will keep on coming. And as long as the population is growing. But what is happening is that the rate of production of housing, particularly formal housing, falls short of urban growth.
Since 1992, when a federal government promulgated a law called Nigerian Urban and Regional Planning Law, to date, that law has not been implemented. What's still at the federal level? Because I do know that some state governments have domesticated the law and they are doing their best in the course of the implementation. So we are saying that at the point when that law was promulgated, that all existing town planning laws were repealed by that law.
The event-themed collaboration for success, fostering a sustainable future for the town planning profession in Nigeria, featured panel discussions and academic presentations. Among the key speakers was the newly elected Vice Chancellor of Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, Professor Ahmed Adamu, who delivered a presentation titled Urban Sustainability Through Localizing the New Urban Development Agenda and Resilience Planning. With these initiatives, the federal government aims to ensure that urban planning remains a critical tool in achieving sustainable development and addressing the nation's housing deficit. Daniel Obi, ASO Television News.
Welcome back from that break, and still with us here in the studio is Mr. Sunday Obada, a town planner. And now we'll go back to the issue of security, which is very, very key in managing towns. And one other issues that we do face in this country is that whenever town planners go out to carry out their job, you discover that they are being attacked. And recently it happened there in the capital city of Abuja. And Mr. Sunday, you've been in this particular angle that has to do with security. You're an expert in this particular field. And most at times when town planners go out probably to restore the plan of a city, they are faced with so much attack. It could be physical, it can go violent, it can even cause community problem where they want to carry out their activities. And being in this particular field of town planning, how do you address such issues?
Okay, thank you very much. Once again, I want to look at the issue of security of lives and property from a broader perspective. The primary responsibility of government is to protect lives and property. And in carrying out this responsibility, the relevant agencies that are charged with the responsibility of protection of lives and property are being deployed. And government spends so much on that. That I know very well. So if town planners, backed statutorily by laws, the Urban and Regional Planning Law is a document that is binding on the town planning profession. And then, sorry to say, there seem to be some gaps, and that is what we are looking at. There seems to be some gap in the insurance or the assurance of protection of town planners in the course of carrying out their lawful duties. And I think we are going to look into that very, very seriously. If government security agencies are insured, in fact, you must not assault a security agent because you will be in for it. There are public service rules and regulations that makes it an offense if you obstruct or assault a public servant from carrying out his or her lawful duties. So what exposes town planners to some of these assaults particularly is when they go out for enforcement. Now, town planning has ethics. We have rules and regulations. We have standards. We have zoning regulations. We have things that, are binding on the town planning profession. So if there is contravention, in fact, in the planning law, the latter part of section 40 down to section 60 thereabout talks about enforcement. If there is contravention, they will serve you a stop notice. If you don't want to stop, they give you a quick notice. If you still contravene, they will remove the property. They will demolish. That is the provision of the law. So in carrying out this enforcement, most times there is resistance. And I think that is possibly because of ignorance, or maybe people are not well enlightened to be going against the law and when the right thing is to be done, because that building or that infrastructure may pose as a danger to the people living there. There is a reason why it must comply with the planning regulations. So town planners in carrying out enforcement are exposed to some of this risk from the public. And if it becomes more worrisome when security agents that are supposed to protect lives and property, an ugly incident happened in Abuja, particularly at the Lugbe axis, late last year, December 2024. It was too graphic. I wouldn't want to be saying some of those things. I'm on live TV. I don't want to sound derogatory, but it was an assault on town planners carrying out their lawful duties. Their phones were seized. Some of them were brutalized. They were admitted in the hospital. Come on, this is it's a national embarrassment. So people on lawful duty should not be assaulted. The NOA should give this orientation, and all relevant government bodies should know this, and we have to give education to our people that when you see a public servant carrying out his or her lawful duties, you must not assault that official.
But was that situation avoidable, the incident that took place in Lugbe?
Well, it was avoidable if the persons involved complied with the provisions of the law. But sometimes people just take laws into their hands. We should be law-abiding citizens. It was avoidable because notices were served, like I said. But the notices were jettisoned. And when removal or demolition was to be carried out or was being effected, then there was resistance. Now that situation was so embarrassing, and I need to sound this very, very strongly, because the commissioner of police for the FCT was involved in the case, as at that time. The DPO Mitama was deployed there. DPO Trademore, this case was even incidented there. But for their intervention and rapid response, the situation would have degenerated because the lives of the officials were threatened. That matter is being looked at now. If not for the fact that the Honorable Minister wrote to the military authorities and those people that were involved were cautioned, it would have snowballed into something else. And it pains me because these are public servants carrying out their lawful duties, and their lives were being threatened. We can't grow like this as a country. We have to look into this.
The one key aspect that has actually made that particular issue to degenerate to the level it is now, many would say, this place was a fallow land before it was probably given to a particular person to occupy. And at the start of that particular building, till the point it got completed, and then people started habiting in it, why didn't the town planners actually take major enforcement practice on that particular location? Why now? This is what many would say.
Well, I just told you there were steps that were being followed. And I don't want to go too much into that because the relevant departments have done what they needed to do. Notices were served. It's just that the compliance level of the owners of the property was very, very low. There was negligence to constituted authority, which is what we are discouraging. There was actually a trespass on encroachment on a plot, and the person involved complained, and the planning authority stepped in. So one thing led to the other, even when official processes were all complied with, and that was what caused that ugly incident. So it wasn't as if the planning regulatory bodies were indolent. They did their own portion of their assignment, but they were resisted in the course of enforcement.
To avoid future occurrences of a thing like this, what would you advise the planners now to do? Whenever they know that, okay, this particular place they are going to, there's potential of danger in that particular zone. What should they do, and how should they get themselves ready for possible issues like that?
Okay, good question. There are always provisions made in place for enforcement activities. Security agencies are written officially, and in that particular instance, the police and civil defense, as usual, armed, were deployed to protect the enforcement officials from the planning regulatory bodies. So we just need to strengthen our existing laws. We should strengthen our existing laws. If possible, a bill should be sponsored to amend the urban and regional planning laws in such a manner that clauses that will ensure the protection of town planners out on enforcement will be included, and to make it a serious offense should any town planning officer out to enforce, to carry out enforcement is being assaulted. It should be stated there. So more to that, there should be a higher level of collaboration. The military, the civil defense, the road safety, the police, whatever, at whatever level, all the relevant military and paramilitary agencies should be co-opted. There should be higher level of collaboration anytime enforcement is going to be carried out. So we don't see repeated cases of this nature in the future. So we need to give orientation to the public. We need to beef up our collaboration level to protect officials out on enforcement activities, and we need to strengthen our town planning laws to the extent that it makes it a serious offense if you assault an official, and it also makes provision for the protection and the insurance of the lives of town planners out on official assignment.
Okay, lastly, if you are to advise the leadership of town planners now, and I mean the national, with that of the top rec and then the NITP, if you are to advise them of the possible way forward in the future, most especially where we have young Nigerians who are actually in the tertiary institution planning to also see that, yes, at the end of the day, they become registered members of this particular body. How do you view the future of young town planners with respect to the activities of the leadership of this particular profession?
Yes, I want to encourage town planners who are coming up, young professionals, don't be deterred. The future is very bright. Town planning is a very noble profession. What this incident we are discussing now that took place tried to accomplish was to instill fear in town planners. But we refuse to be intimidated, because we are doing the right thing for the present and the future in order to create a healthy and a livable society, a planned environment. So young planners should see the profession as a noble one, pursue it with all vision and focus. Don't be intimidated, don't be afraid based on what you are seeing. The future is bright, things will get better. All you need to do is to brace up with the challenges, improve on your level of knowledge, practice the profession, adhering to the ethics, because there are penalties for every violation of the professional ethics. Keep in line with the extant guidelines of the profession and go for training. Even after your education, go for higher level of training, attend all the conferences, and just make sure you are abreast. You can practice as a private town planner, you can work in government, you can work in the military, paramilitary. The scope is very wide. And I want them to embrace the profession with some level of dignity.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sunday Ogbada, for joining us on the afternoon edition. It's indeed a very, very enlightening program, and you've actually expanded our view on how planners can also secure themselves whenever they go out to enforce the laws of the land, and also to maintain the master plan of that particular location. It's very, very important. Thank you so much once more for joining us.
Thank you.
This is how far we can go today on the afternoon edition, discussing with Mr. Sunday Ogbada, a town planner and an expert in the security, and also to ensure that town planners are safe wherever they go out to discuss issues that has to do with town planning, and also to enforce the law of the Land Use Act, and definitely they come with stiffer challenges. And Mr. Sunday Ogbada has made it very, very clear that there are rules and regulations guiding all this. And for the young town planners, you need to read very well to understand the laws guiding the town planning profession. And that way, you can be able to mitigate yourself into a better future. My name is Isa Nu. Have a wonderful day and stay blessed.